This is absolutely crazy. Take a look at this.
Police with guns drawn pull over a car they say was flagged by flock cameras in connection to a homicide out of Milwaukee. Well, turns out this was all some sort of mishap with the flock camera systems. In fact, Brookville police say they called Milwaukee police and MPD said they no longer needed the car or the people inside, so officers let them go. But you know, this has really become a point of contention, flock cameras as a whole, as more reports of misuse by law enforcement across the country arise.
This could have gone wrong in so many different ways. Police stopped her on an interstate, guns drawn, all because of a faulty flock system. And what's even more insane, the person that the police had stopped, Amber Newell, said that this is the second time this has happened to her in a span of a week.
If you live in North Carolina, you better be careful, because we got monkeys out here now, and I'm not even kidding. I'm about to put a video in this to prove it. But me and my son, we're out fishing today. Right here, there's one real close right here. Right there. In freaking North Carolina, I've never seen a monkey when I was out fishing. I never even thought I would. The only thing I can think of, I looked it up and said, no, monkeys are not native to North Carolina. But I seen a story where, I think a year ago, where there was like 40 some monkeys that escaped some facility in South Carolina. Some kind of facility where they were doing some kind of whatever testing on them. And I guess that they done made their way to North Carolina. So if you live in North Carolina and you out fishing, careful, because you might run into a damn monkey out there.
That video was by Upcharge 101, and that's what I thought of too, those 43 monkeys that had escaped from a lab. But supposedly we were told they captured all 43. Maybe that was a lie to buy them more time. Or perhaps every once in a while they release one or two of these lab monkeys into the wild. It does look like the same type of monkey that was from that lab, but I mean, it could easily be somebody's pet. But that's the first thing I thought of was these lab monkeys. And I know somebody's probably clenching their butt cheeks and typing, these are obviously not the same monkeys. One is a short-haired rhesus and the other is a 1972 skidoo. I've been a zoologist for over 20 years and you're always spreading misinformation and disinformation. And it's like, relax, right? Let us all relax and focus on what's at hand here.
And finally, AI is going viral, literally. Scientists use artificial intelligence to create 16 new viruses. It's an important step in the race to combat rising drug resistance within germs. Tests showed some of the manufactured viruses could overcome antibacterial resistance in some E. coli strains. The viruses don't pose a threat to people because they are only able to infect bacteria. But the study adds the concern that AI could someday lead to the creation of new biological weapons.
So yeah, as you heard in that news report, scientists are using AI to create viruses never seen in nature before, completely from scratch. The authors of the study relied on an AI model called Evo, which is similar in some ways to OpenAI's ChatGPT. And supposedly they said the viruses created by the AI do not pose a threat to humans because they are all similar to a naturally occurring virus called Phi-X-174, which can infect only bacteria. But here's the thing, even if they were telling the truth about this, which I highly doubt, these viruses that are created by the AI are similar, but they're not the same thing that occurs by nature, which means anything can go wrong. Similar is the key word, meaning it can still do its own thing and have its own mutation. When it came to studying these AI-created viruses in many of the dishes, the microbes grew peacefully. Evo's genomes had failed, but in one dish, researchers noticed clear dots appearing in the cloudy film of bacteria, the sign of multiplying viruses. The DNA that the scientists had inserted into the bacteria had produced protein shells that contained viral genes. The viruses burst out of the cells, leaving behind the ruptured husk of their dead host. They say they're creating these new AI viruses to help advance medical science and create new jabs, but it just feels like once again they're trying to play God. Let's not forget that news story that came out not that long ago where they are creating these synthetic cells that can grow like normal cells into a life form. So what exactly are they creating? But it just doesn't stop there. Oh no, scientists will have to run more experiments to find out if Evo has the same success rate if it's trained on other groups of viruses. If so, Dr. Crook, very interesting name, they always have to put it in our faces. Might as well have called him Dr. Dr. Bad Guy, expected that scientists might find some AI-generated viruses that could become useful tools for medicine and biotechnology. Other researchers and scientists not connected to this project are concerned that these AI-created viruses can create some sort of new pathogen or some sort of bioweapon. This definitely has all the vibes of something you'd hear from Resident Evil. And if they're telling us about this now, then they have been doing this for a long, long time. And as I believe, AI is a lot older than what they tell the public. Scientists synthesizing viruses from scratch is nothing new. They've been doing that for a long time. But what's different here is that these scientists, supposedly anyway, taught AI to recognize patterns of DNA structure in nature and then use that data to write recipes for entirely new viruses. The AI created over 300 of these viruses, 302 to be exact. I'm surprised it wasn't 330, and only 16 met their expectations. With all these weird and strange experiments that these scientists are doing, it brings me back to an article that goes back to May 2026 that you don't really hear many people talk about. For example, this article from science.org, Not Alive But Not Dead, Disembodied Human Brains Used for Drug Tests. So what's been happening is that this company called Bexorg has been getting all these human brains. At the time of that article, it was over 700 human brains that they had acquired that they said that they had gotten through quote-unquote donors. But who really knows how they gotten these brains? Hours after the person had passed away, they take the brain, sit it on a cart, drape it in tubes that quiver as they pump liters of blood substitute and other fluids through the organ, supplying oxygen and removing waste. With most of the brain's key functions intact but its electrical activity quenched by anesthesia, they say the brain hovers between life and death. As it metabolizes experimental drugs, sensors records its reactions, capturing hundreds of data points on its cells, proteins, and physiology. Then after 24 hours in this state, it will be sliced into hundreds of pieces for a more detailed study. This sounds like everything out of a horror movie, but they say that this system promises far more realistic conditions for testing drugs than lab animals and cells in a dish. And maybe, right? Maybe one day this will have some sort of benefit for humanity, but who really knows at the end of the day? Because I do remember a long time ago, they said that they were going to use brain organoids to help solve all kinds of diseases. But we're getting news articles now that they're using these brain organoids and trapping them in a game of doom, which is essentially hell.
So where are they getting these whole donated human brains? Right. Let's go on to continue. Who's missing brains in history? Let's look at it. The list goes on. It's Einstein. It's JFK, Vladimir Lenin, Benito Mussolini, Rene Descartes, the former prime minister of Japan. His name is Hisashi Hamaguchi. Charles Babbage. He was the father of the computer, right? And they're saying that they're not lobotomizing people. They're saying that, oh, we're not taking people's brains against their will. They're fully donated. Who's donating their entire brain? Nobody's donating their brain. It's all these elites that want to preserve their brain and have immortality through AI being integrated with their brain. They want to come back to life. This is literally happening. You can look it up for yourself. Go to Bexorg's website. See it for yourself. Let's talk more about Bexorg.
Now, I'm sure there's some people out there willing to donate their brain to science, but being an organ donor does not include the brain. But what's an interesting rabbit hole to go down into, I'm not saying it's actually happening, just a theory that there are companies out there offering people cryogenics. They can freeze themselves in hopes of being unfrozen and revived at a future date. But I do wonder if it's all a ploy to take people's organs, including their brains, because as of 2024, over 500 people had frozen themselves, and as of 2026, this company has about 700 brains. Now, I'm not saying that's what's happening, but it's an interesting thought. So this is pretty weird. About a week or 2 weeks ago, it came out that a company was creating a giant robotic centaur, a satyr, or a Baphomet wielding a chainsaw. To me, it looks like a giant Baphomet, but either way, it's very creepy. The symbolism is very telling. The creator behind this monstrosity of a project called Satyrus, his name is Bo Gaston. So I was looking him up further through my search engine to see if I could find any more information, and I came across this website called BoGasson.com. Now, just to be clear, I don't know if this website is connected to him or not because I can't find anything online that connects him to this website. But upon clicking on this website, and I don't advise anyone to do so at your own risk, I'm taken to here. But the symbolism on this site is even more telling. You can see the pyramids. It looks like as above, so below. The all-seeing eye on this pyramid that's connecting to what looks like a pyramid that has some type of chip. It seems like for the most part that this website is interactive, but there's not much more you can do. If you click on the CV or the portfolio, it asks for a password. Again, I don't know if this has any connections to the Bo Gasson that's creating a 7-foot tall AI Baphomet, but the symbolism is very spot on.
All right, staying at this big Airbnb in Indiana. Tell me if this is weird or not. So, kids were playing in here in this spare room, and they pushed on this bookshelf. And this is what they find. Security footage. We go into the Hilton.
This, among many other things, are the reasons why I don't stay at Airbnbs, and these people in this video are moving a little too slow for me.
This video is going viral right now, and somehow every update only makes it worse. And it was posted by Montana Banana after her sister noticed something behind her air vent in her apartment. So they looked inside and spotted what looks to be an old family photograph. However, it didn't just fall into place. It looked like it deliberately been put there. Neither of them knew who any of these people were, so she posted the video online. But not long after, she came back with an update, and things only got stranger.
Major update. I'm using this comment because I can't reply to the other comment. But we found the family who's in that photo. His friend messaged me, but there's a guy in the comment section saying that's his family, and I verified it. He knew where the apartment was.
So the family in the photo knew where the apartment was, meaning they had some sort of connection to it. And naturally, everyone in the comments asked the same question. What was behind the picture and the vent? So they went back one more time, but this time pushed further inside. And you can see at first, it looks like a utility space, but then they notice a door which isn't accessible from their apartment. And though it could have a simple explanation, it doesn't explain the photograph or how they obtained it. Regardless, I'll tag Montana below, and you can follow her for any updates. But let me know, what do you think?
What's eerie about this, and this is her most recent video so far, there's been no other updates, outside of the very bizarre photo, opening up her vent should not make another apartment or a janitor closet visible. Someone could easily be using that to spy on them.
A little girl's innocent science experiment would turn into one of the most unexplained phenomenons known to modern age. So back in 2001, there was a 10-year-old little girl named Laura Buxton. And she had a balloon, and she put a note on the balloon and inside the balloon, and then actually dangled one off the balloon. She let this balloon go and wanted to see where this balloon would end up. And the note was essentially saying ways to contact her parents' email address and to get in touch with them because they wanted to see where these balloons would end up. This balloon traveled 140 miles. Now, the likelihood of a balloon traveling and just landing in a field or somebody seeing it and just throwing it away is very high. Majority of the time, no one would have even seen this balloon at all. So I want you to understand how hard and rare it is that somebody even found this balloon. By the way, don't do this. Don't release balloons. This is really bad. 140 miles away, this balloon lands. It lands in this elderly couple's yard. They go out, they pick up the balloon, they see the note on it. And they go, oh, return to Laura Buxton, So then they go, this didn't make it far. They go to their neighbor's house, knock on their door, to a little girl named Laura Buxton. And they said, hey, we found your balloon. We're trying to return it. Laura Buxton was very confused. She said, I've not done any of this. This is not my email address. I don't know anything about this. They contacted the email address that was on there because it freaked them out. They're like, why is somebody sending a balloon with our daughter's name on it, but somebody else's information? It was a different Laura Buxton. So a 10-year-old little girl, Laura Buxton, released the balloon. It landed in another 10-year-old little girl's neighbor's house, whose name was also Laura Buxton. The parents thought this was the craziest thing ever, and since it was only about 140 miles, it was about a 2-hour drive, they met up, and the two little girls looked like they could have been not just sisters, but twin sisters. They looked identical. They both had a dog that was a black lab. They both also had a pet rabbit. Like, their interests were the same, their style of dressing was the same, their physical features were the same. It is a weird glitch in the Matrix that happened. And it would be just easy to write off if this was the only time it's ever happened. But there's been so many glitches in the Matrix where people have found wallets belonging to somebody with the same name as them. If you want to see the Missing Twins documentary that I did a whole hour-long thing about twins separated at birth that go on to live identical lives. Like, they're separated at birth, but yet they marry a woman with the same name. They name their kids the same name. They get a pet dog and name it the same name. Like, there are so many weird, freaky phenomenons like this that have happened that you just have to wonder, are we in a simulation? And sometimes it just kind of glitches out. If you want to see those stories that I was referring to, you can go to our podcast.
That video was by Nomad's Animal Encounters, and I know some people can just write this off as a coincidence, a girl by the same name getting the balloon of the girl that let the balloon go, but with everything else, the same dog, rabbit, the same interest, they even looking similar, at what point does it stop becoming a coincidence and something more?
Now we turn to a gruesome discovery at a far south side funeral home where more than 50 decomposing bodies were found inside. This morning, investigators are still on scene, and so are we. We've got Darius Johnson joining us live outside South Chicago Chapel with the very latest. Darius, we see it's still active out there. What's happening this morning?
Audrina, the first thing I want to talk about is the mood. It is a very chilling feeling here this morning. You have this fog laying over the area. You have this active investigation with bodies that are being wheeled out one by one. And then you even just had some church bells tolling in the background. So it just really speaks to how hard it is to be at this scene right now. You even have that awful odor that continues to permeate through this air this morning, and we're all getting whiffs of it. The same odor that many people have been talking about for the last several hours. We have seen the Cook County Medical Examiner's Office and investigators continue to remove remains from this funeral home. Now they are going to be working to identify every single person that was inside to make sure that their families are notified as well. Take a look. Chicago police have been at the South Chicago Chapel at 95th and Escanaba since yesterday afternoon when this shocking discovery was made. New video overnight shows that process beginning with bodies being wheeled out one by one. The Cook County Medical Examiner's Office says more than 50 bodies were found in deplorable conditions and in various states of decomposition. The medical examiner expects the identification process to take several days. Now, this investigation began after state regulators suspended the funeral director's license earlier this week, citing rodent infestation, maggots, and improper storage of human remains. But state business records show the funeral home's business license remains active at this time. For months, neighbors tell us that they noticed a strong odor coming from the building. Take a listen to what one had to say when we spoke to her in the last hour.
Members of people who recently used the funeral home for cremation services came here this morning to try and find answers.
I think my sister may be here.
Patrice Halliburton's sister, Melody Johnson, passed away in May. Her services were here in early June.
We were waiting for her remains. We were told that it would be about 2 to 3 months before we could get her remains. However, they called us in like a week and told us that her remains were ready.
Now, she and her family are wondering if the remains they got really belong to her sister.
There's more fear right now than anger. You know, we want to have time to process it. We don't know if Melody is in there or not.
The funeral director, Joanna Morgan, and her husband's record with the state has not been good. Last year, state investigators found a similar situation at another facility in Chicago Heights run by the pair. After being fined thousands of dollars for violations over the years, she and her husband agreed to close the location after the state moved to revoke her license.
I have no idea how something like this could happen. I have no idea how someone...
What is very eerie about this is that I have done numerous videos on this subject across both my channels where people are giving funeral homes money to bury their loved ones or do a cremation service, only to find out those services are never performed and the bodies are either wasting away or they're given to somebody or somebodies on the black market. Now, I'm not saying there are not good funeral homes out there, but it just really makes you wonder with the frequency of these stories, just how many others are doing this.
Hey, hold on a second. I just found out there's a place in Texas called Rockwall, and it's a funny thing how this place got its name, and I can't believe this isn't being discussed more, but then also I can imagine because they don't want really this sort of thing getting out, I presume. They call it Rockwall because there is a giant rock wall underground surrounding the entire place. And it's said officially that this just looks like a wall, but really it's a natural formation. This guy, called Giants of Ancient America, says were portions of this prehistoric wall in Rockwall, Texas, the work of giants in ancient America. I mean, this thing is huge, and it's said to be quite deep. The official reports, who knows, but it's pretty deep. And they found strange, like, iron tools. I'm not saying this hammer thing, someone put that there. The thing above it is all rusty. Anyway, what do you think? And this isn't even mentioning some of the many different articles back in the day of interesting things they found when they're digging for houses, including giant bones. But of course, officially, they're all fake.
There is so much about the Americas that's hidden from the public. We're not being told the truth. This reminds me of the Lovelock Cave giants, Native Americans going to battle against these tall, red-headed giants. There was a lot of artifacts left over, and supposedly one organization, the Smithsonian, had collected almost all of it. That video was by Shane Vibes.
A really bizarre, unsolved case that I've never really heard anyone else talk about. A small Ohio town was terrorized by an unknown person for over a decade, and it gets really dark. It started back in 1976 in the small town of Circleville, Ohio, when residents there began receiving these handwritten letters making accusations of affairs, leading double lives, and even committing various crimes. Whoever was writing these letters seemed to know a whole lot of personal information about the people receiving them, and the main target of these letters was a woman named Mary Gillespie, who was a school bus driver. The anonymous letter that Mary received claimed to know intimate details about her private life and demanded that she end some alleged affair that they were claiming she was having. And when Mary's husband Ron tried to solve who was sending these letters, he mysteriously passed away. After receiving a phone call that he believed was connected to the harassment that his wife had been facing, Ron grabbed his shotgun, got into his truck, and drove off. But he never made it home because his truck would crash into a tree and he would die on impact. Authorities ruled it an accident, but some people aren't so convinced. Months later, Mary noticed a sign along her bus route. And while police have never verified what the sign said, we do know that it contained some sort of obscene message about Mary's 13-year-old daughter. When Mary stopped to remove it, she discovered that it had been rigged with a handgun, so that if someone were to pull the sign down, the gun would go off. Police traced the gun to Mary's brother-in-law, Paul, who insisted he had been framed and was even convicted of attempted murder. But here's the thing. While Paul was locked up for supposedly being this weirdo attacking Mary and rigging this booby trap sign, the letters continued to show up. In fact, they would continue for the next 17 years. Only coming to a stop after Unsolved Mysteries did an episode on the case. And while filming, production received a letter themselves. Forget Circleville, Ohio. If you come to Ohio, you El Sickos will pay. Signed, the Circleville writer.
That great video was by Oddities on Elm Street, and I don't know, even though these letters were supposedly targeting Mary, something tells me that the authorities should be questioning Mary a little bit further.
Two small stone heads were at the center of years of paranormal activity. In 1971, brothers Colin and Leslie dug up a pair of small stone heads in their garden in Hexham, England. Soon after they brought them inside their house, strange things began happening. The family claimed the heads moved on their own and bottles were violently thrown across rooms. Their next-door neighbors reported that they saw a half-man, half-goat figure leaving their house. Once word hit the newspapers, several archaeologists examined and tested the heads. While the heads were in the possession of Anne Ross, an expert in Celtic artifacts, she and her daughter both reported seeing werewolves inside their house. Anne claimed that one night, she woke up to see a part man, part wolf figure leaving her room, which she followed downstairs until it disappeared near the kitchen. Days later, her daughter Bernice reported seeing a large werewolf-like figure on the stairs that leapt over the banister and vanished. Years later, a man claimed he made the heads himself in the 1950s, but when asked to replicate the heads using the same methods, his new set of heads were nowhere near the quality or look of the original set. After circulating among various experts for study, the heads wound up disappearing. Their current whereabouts remain completely unknown, and their origins were never confirmed. What do you think? Were the Hexam heads tied to something ancient and paranormal, or did belief alone give them their power?
The true origin of these Hexam heads still remain unproven, and the actual heads today are either currently lost or missing, but I do know if my daughter shows up with these heads at her doorstep, she and the heads are living with grandma.
Be careful the next time you reach for a snack, especially a Walmart Great Value Granola Chewy Protein Bar. And why do I say that? Because a woman opened one up for a snack and got more than what she bargained for. Have a look at this video for yourself. Take a look at this right here.
I just already ate half of this.
She ate half of it already.
Hold on.
Wait for it.
I'm trying to do this.
Look at that. What those are and what they appear to be? Fly eggs. Those are fly eggs inside of her protein / chewable granola bar. And what the hell is that? Another gigantic bug already inside? So are these coming directly from the plant that manufactures them? This is the exact protein bar right here that she consumed half of with fly eggs in it. Peanut, almond, and dark chocolate protein chewy granola bar. Very disgusting and disturbing at the same time. One more reason to check every single thing you get from anywhere prior to eating it. So there's no more just unwrapping it and chewing away, as you saw what happened to her. You now need to open up the package, lay it out, cut it up maybe even into pieces. But why do we even have to go through all of this? This is just unbelievable. And one more side note, if you do open up something like that and find things like that on the interior of it, just take a picture of it, run it through an AI, and let them determine what it is, but do not eat it. Just throw it out. Disturbing. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments, and as always, I'd love to hear from you.
That video was by the Jody69, and somebody in his comment section said that that granola bar was not lying because those insects were the protein. Absolutely disgusting, but another question happens to be, if those are indeed insects, then how long did she have that granola bar sitting around for unopened? It could be old and she never realized, but great value products that are coming from Walmart are very questionable in itself.
I came across this story from another content creator over on YT. I don't know if he knew that I was into haunted objects, but man, this story, you gotta hear this story. This story just happened at the end of last month, like June 20th. And this is the clearest evidence that I've seen of how haunted objects react to a change in environment. Okay, so this story, this is a cool story. All right, this lady's name right here, her name's Katie, and she works for a cleaning company, right? And this person contacted the company and was like, I need you to clean my house. And the person was like, I'm kind of a hoarder, but, you know, it's not too big of a deal. Send her some photographs. Stuff like this. These were the pictures that were sent to Katie. And you're thinking, okay, that's not that bad. And she's probably thinking that. But this was more in line with what Katie discovered when she got there. This picture was taken by Katie. And there's a bunch of other ones. Okay, so this is why this story is interesting. They went in to clean. And they, you know what? I'm just going to show you the video of what happened. Pay attention to the Thomas the Tank Train engine. Just watch this video.
Your favorite Americans. What is that? It looks so cute. Oh, the smell is so bad. It smells so. Oh my God, what is that? Flies? Oh, Look at Thomas for him and like him. Oh my god, it's really good. And it actually comes towards us. What have you gotten us into? Oh my god, really? Oh my god.
Right? That's pretty bananas. And also, I'm pretty sure like the eyes moved, which I don't know why the eyes would move. I have so many questions about this. All right, so they were cleaning the house. They ran out screaming. One, because the house was a nightmare. And then obviously the nightmare toy was a nightmare. So they ran out, they called the owner and they're like, your house is, we can't clean your house. Also, there's like a haunted, like Thomas the Tank train. Anyway, they had to, so they just left. All right. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking those toys, they have batteries like this. They could have moved, right? That thing could have moved on its own. I knew you were going to ask that. There was another scene when they were walking through the house and it showed the Thomas engine toy there, and she picked it up and stuck it over in the kitchen, but you could see underneath there was no battery. Turns out the Thomas the Tank engine was like the owner's like son, or like it was like a dead son or something like that. He was real young and he loved that toy. And there was a picture in the house of him on that, on that thing. So they contacted the owner. They were like, you got to get the train out. And then there's another video. This is like a crazy saga. I'm not going to go into the whole thing. I just want to show you this is what a haunted object looks like when an environment has changed. But these women, when they came back to clean the house the second time, they put the toy train out in the yard. And then the train starts moving towards them in the house. It's all caught on video. There's a bunch of follow-up videos. Check out Bizarre Bub over on YT. He did a great like expo on this. I didn't want to do the whole story just because like he's seems like a good guy. But yeah, this is what I've been talking about. This is haunted objects. When you handle them, you touch them, or you move them, or you change their environment. Whatever entity is attached to them or whatever, it gestates, I guess.
That video was by a good friend of the channel, American X Rex. Please do check him out. He has a great channel. And while we just can't trust everything on the internet, this could easily be fake somehow, I do believe that certain items and even households can have certain attachments to them. Like what we saw with the whole Watts case. If you saw the body cam footage, you were hearing and seeing all types of bizarre stuff that even scared the investigators.